Hey everybody, Big Toad here. Today we're going to be working on this Woolly Hippo. It's a creature I made up, and I'm gonna draw him. If you saw part one of this, you saw the process I went through to kind of create and come up with the idea. So now in this video I'm going to show you the whole drawing, how I start from a blank page and put that hippo on there. The Woolly Hippo, a creature I made up. Now I'm drawing with kind of the side of my pencil. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm making really soft little lines. You can barely see them. They'll show up a little better here soon. But I'm just making light little lines with the side of my pencil. And the reason I'm using the side is they're not as sharp, so they're not as dark automatically. I'm hardly pushing down at all. And I'm using the tip here to put in some teeth. As I want to outline those a little better. And so I go back and forth from using the tip of my pencil when I want to put some extra detail, and I'll use the side of my pencil at the beginning just to lay out the shape of my creature in the outline. So now there I'm putting a little shading in to kind of draw a little ridge around his nose. And now I'm putting in a couple of horns that come off the top of his head there. You can see those. And I'm using the side of my pencil. What that does is it creates a fat line that's kind of really light so it doesn't overpower. It's easy to erase if you need to. Now I do this entire drawing and I do not erase once. But that fat line doesn't lock you in. As soon as I put down a sharp line, I feel like that's my drawing. But this kind of line allows me to just experiment with my mind and my pencil, and doesn't make me overly commit. So as I do this, things just pop out, and that'll make more sense as we go along. Like we talked about in the discovery video, where I kind of laid out my ideas on how to draw this guy. I wanted to make his head big because he's a woolly hippo, so that means he's a mammal, and mammals have larger heads. Now I'm outlining his front leg and his feet, and his feet are big and wide and flat so he can dig through the mud at the bottom of the rivers or lakes or swamps, and he can push himself through that. So they're big and fat and wide, and they got big toenails on them to help him dig into and get traction in the bottom of the water. See, I'm making this whole idea up as I go, but there's a reason for the different pieces and parts. There's a reason for the fat feet. There's a reason for the big heavy toenails, and it's just purpose and everything. Now, what I like about this guy is that his legs are really close together, because he's going to be stubby short, not both ways. He's not got a long body, it's a very short body, and he's also low to the ground. Now, as the back feet of mammals, I'm going to sketch in a little up here and get his behind in, so I see I got his overall shape going, and a little fuzzy tail on there. Now the back feet of mammals, often, unless you're talking about hoofed animals, I'm talking about with feet that don't have hooves, they're often shaped a little more similar to a human, especially when you look at them from the bottom underneath. They have a print that looks a lot like us. So that foot's a little longer, while the front foot's a little stubbier and round. See, so I'm just putting in these wide marks to just get an outline of my creature, put some shading in, and around where I know I'm going to shade, and it also gives me contour when I put these in there. You go a little darker on the horns. Okay, see, you kind of get that shape of that now. I'm going to add a little more darkness to the eyeballs to get them to poke out a little bit. The ridges around the eyes. All right, there we go. We'll work on the eyes. I like making up animals because no one can tell me it doesn't look like a woolly hippo, because I'm the one that made it up, so I know what a woolly hippo is, and you don't until I show you. Now, you can do your own woolly hippo and make it show up any way you want. Nobody can tell you it's wrong. But even though I'm making up a creature like this woolly hippo, I'm still giving him things that are recognizable. It's important that when you make up a creature that it's recognizable, that it's got. If I'm going to put horns, they kind of look like horns, right? I've got eyes, they kind of look like eyes. I've got feet, they kind of look like feet, and so the anatomy and how that creature's structured has to make sense from its purpose. Like I said, it's going to be kind of guy that he stomps along the underwater, below the surface in the mud, rooting out insects and bugs and grasses and plants from at the bottom of the lakes and rivers and swamps he lives in. So he's got purpose, like those two big tusks that point down. Those help him dig in the bottom of the water. They help him dig in the mud to pry up turtles or plant roots or bulbs that are growing down there. And that wide mouth helps him just suck up a bunch of stuff. And he's got a big fat tongue. It's hard to see in there, but it's really, I kind of imagine that big old fat tongue as being something he could really use to just, like bounce the food around in there and get the mud off and spit the mud out and then eat the good stuff. So using the point a little more, put some nostrils in there. He's got to be able to breathe. I put him right on the end so he could really, while he's underwater, he could maybe float and just stick the top of his nose out of the water and breathe through those nostrils right up there. And then he doesn't have to come to shore to breathe, and he can stay underwater longer. So he could eat a little bit, then float to the top and stick his nose out. And maybe stand on those hind legs a little bit because he's in the water. If you've ever been in the water, you know you can float a little bit and stand on your tiptoes real easy. Well, that's what he does when he's in the water, so he can breathe. He can also float, so he could do that too. So putting a little contour and texture around where the horns come out. Horns just don't come out flat. They're usually kind of bulges around them because they're pushing up through the skin, growing out of the bone. Okay. See, I just work at it a little bit here and there. I'll be honest. I recorded this and now I'm talking over it because I wanted to be able to just concentrate on relaxing while I draw. And that also allows me to speed up the drawing. So what you're watching is me drawing it 2 times as fast. So I sped it up. Even so, it still takes me an hour on this video to completely finish this drawing. So really, once I had all my ideas in my head, I was able to draw this guy in about 2 hours time. And I've got inset in this video up at the top left. I've got a picture of what I finished at. That's the my finished drawing, and you'll see it come take shape right here on the paper. Just using my pencils and no erasers, no other tools. And these are special pencils you can get. They're special. They're special mechanical. They're used in mechanical drafting back before you had computers. If you had to draw mechanical drafting or architects before computers, you use these kind of pencils. And they hold a big stick of lead that goes in there. And so when I sharpen these, I showed you that in the part 1 of this series on the Woolly Hippo. I showed you how to sharpen it with little pieces of sandpaper, and that's how I sharpen it. I'm working on the eyes, starting to get some more character to those eyes now. See, you see that the eye on the left over there? It looks like an eye. Now I'm putting some some contour under the eye to make it, make it stand out. Contour around it. You see that shading that you learn helps you contour your animal, your creation, your drawing. So that looks kind of neat right there. I like the way that jaw comes around. Yeah, didn't intend to do that when I drew this, but I like the way it looks, so I just kept it. Put some more structure to the jaw and to that lower jaw, and put in some of those big teeth, the molars. He's got those sharp incisor teeth for chomping through grasses on the front, and he's got big molars to grind this food down, or maybe crush the skull of a little turtle he's eating. Let's face it, sometimes animals eat each other in the wild, so put a little shade and darkness around that. I kind of build it out. I don't try to finish everything all at once, I don't try to finish the teeth in one shot. I let it sit, and I come back and look at it. And the horn, I do a little bit, give it shape, give it color, give it depth, give it contour, and then I work on something else and kind of slowly bring out my picture. And if I do it all at once, if I just spend all my time on one place and just get those eyes, I get them perfect. Or if I try to get them perfect right now, it won't fit the rest of my drawing. Or I got to let these kind of things just roll around in my head a little bit and let my mind relax. Drawing is very relaxing for me. It's fun. It's relaxing. It's very soothing. It's therapeutic. I have two different ones of these pencils. You see this one with the red. I put red tape on it so I identify them easy. The one with the red tape has a softer lead in it so I can make darker lines. And the other one with no tape on it, no red tape, I have harder lead in it so I can make more delicate, softer lines. Now I can make really sharp lines with this, with the harder lead, but you just got to sharpen it more often to keep it sharp. But it's pretty quick with the sandpaper like I do. You can go back and watch that last video, the previous one to this, part 1 of the Woolly Hippo, and you'll see. I'll show you how I sharpen it. It's pretty simple. And you can pick these up on Amazon. A lot of art stores will also carry these kind of pencils. Sometimes they do. But if you go to Amazon, you get one of these mechanical drafting pencils. Then you can order lead, and it's so cheap this way. And the lead is a little like as thick as a pencil, but it's easier to maintain and manage and sharpen. And you get a lot more for your money. And I'm working on those nostrils a little bit. Yeah, see the mouth above the lip there is a little flatter than the nostrils, and the big ridges where the tusks and the horns come out of that big bony face. I want to put some texture and some contour, and also some kind of when you look at this hippo, making them a little rougher, like around those lips. See those lines that come up there? They kind of give it the appearance of if it's an older animal with scars. I mean, he's been chomping on the things at the bottom of the rivers for years now. Yeah, you see, give a little more detail to the eyes. It's starting to come out more and more. Yeah, just add a little bit of delicate little lines around the nose, up that ridge. Yeah, it's important not to overdraw anything at once. Now I put this paper towel folded in half, a little paper towel. That way I can rest my hand on it without getting the oils from my hand on my paper, which can cause my lead to smear. Yeah, this little spot of the jaw, I really liked how it turned out. It was just an accident, but I like it. And I'll incorporate that in a little more to the finished drawing. It gives contour, it gives shape. And I'm putting little eyelashes in. And like I said before, you can eyelashes, often seen in like delicate little drawings, or little girly girls you draw, or people. They're kind of sweeter drawings, but all mammals. Almost all mammals have eyelashes, and so you get a big, scary, mean gorilla. Guess what? He's got little eyelashes, and an elephant has little eyelashes. You just often don't see them because you're not close enough. So I put them in here just to give some more texture, shape to my eye. And you might not be able to see them when I'm done, but it kind of helps. Now I'm kind of putting a dark ridge, because above like your eyes, you got your eyeball, and then you got that bone right above your eye, or within your eyebrows. That's kind of what I'm highlighting on top there. Now I'm shading up away from the bottom, because the bottom is shadowed because it's underneath. And so always put a little shadow down at the bottom, gives it shape and contour. A lot of times on animals and creatures and things you're drawing, we tend to draw a lot of solid lines, but those don't always show up so much in nature. We just, in our minds, we think they do, but things are often receding away from us. They're not jagged and straight, or they're not straight lines. They're rolling or jagged or broken up by other things, and so I try not to make one big, heavy, long line. I'd rather make a bunch of little, small lines that give the illusion of the bigger line, and it helps soften the edges of things a little bit. And so I save the sharper lines, and I save the really dark things for special highlights, like the nostrils or the pupils of the eyes. Yeah, outline those molars a little bit in there. That's the kind of thing where it's really hard to see, but again, just drawing it as I go a little bit helps me as I'm drawing to remember what all the parts and pieces are to my woolly rhino, and tells a story in my brain while I'm going, and maybe they'll show up, maybe they won't later. Alright, I'm going to put some ears on this guy. They're not going to be big floppy ears because he's going to be underwater all the time. Hearing is not his strength, but they're big, round, hollow ears, so while he's underwater he can capture good sound, because sound does travel through the water. You can stick your head under, you can hear it gurgle, gurgle, and such, but they're big, round ears to capture sound under the water. But they're close to his head. Yeah, put a little, your ear's always got a dark ear canal in it. I don't want to make the ear perfectly round. Now I'm going to show just a little bit of the ear on the other side. But because the ear is so close to the head, I don't have to show very much of it. Alright, I'm going to stop with that ears and kind of add some body. Look at these lines coming off and give the illusion of hair, because this is going to be a woolly hippo. Now, see, I'm shading with the side of my lead there. That's something that's nice about these types of pencils. Is the nice thick lead I can lay down on its side and shade with when I want. Okay, and I go back up to the front because I'm trying to relax, I'm trying to enjoy, I'm trying to settle into the drawing, and when I'm not sure what to do next, I go back up and start touching up the things that I like. And here I am adding some hair, no straight lines there, kind of hair, jagged hair. Here's the jagged is going to be woolly legs down to the feet, and the feet are going to be a lot less hairy. They're going to be thick hide like elephant skin. The feet are. Now put the hairy arms. The trick of this drawing is we make that hair stand out as hair, and work on these feet. I like the feet. The design of the feet and the toes and the toenails is something I really enjoy in this drawing. I think it's one of the parts of the drawing that really give it credibility, really make it feel like a real creature. Because the toes aren't perfect. Nobody has the same kind of toes. Look at your toes and look at your sisters or your brothers or your friends' toes and your mom's or dad's and everybody's toes and feet. You can tell it's a toe and a foot, but they're all a little different. Sometimes you got crooked toes, smashed up toes, toes that lay on their side, toes that are jagged, toes that poke out really long, and so others are short and stubby. Yeah, you'll see lots of different kind of toes and feet shapes when you take people's shoes off and you look at them and you say, oh, they're all different. Yeah. Like I said, this guy, though, he has these big feet to get traction under the water while he's walking across the bottom of the swamp, digging up roots to eat, and turtles and crayfish, like a crawdad. I don't know if you got crawdads where you're at. When I was young, I would go to Missouri, a state in the middle of the United States. And I'd spend a few weeks out of the summer down there. I had grandparents and aunt, uncle, and cousins that all lived down there, and they all lived in ranches. So lots of big property with little ponds all over the place you could fish in for bass, and big fields you could run through, and forests and it was their property, so we never saw anybody else there but ourselves. I'm getting my hat in the way here. And so it was really safe to run around in the woods and just explore. No big scary things in Missouri. Had deer, but in all the time I was there, I never saw a deer out in the wild. And they did have, if you got around the water, you could maybe run across a water moccasin, which is a poisonous snake. So I did see a couple of those. But in the creeks, you could search around. If you were really slow and quiet, and you could search around. Get my hat out of the way again. You could search around, lift up rocks, and you'd find these crayfish, or these crawdads, we'd call them. They're look like little lobsters. But some of these down there, man, they'd be 6 inches long, which is really big for a crawdad. And we could catch them by the buckets full out of these little creek that ran through my uncle's property. Me and my cousin and my brother would run down there and catch crawdads. Caught a whole bucket full of crawdads, brought them home, the biggest ones we could get, and had my grandma cook us up a crawdad meal. They weren't too bad. They're like shrimp. So yeah, if you go out to eat, or your mom and dad fix shrimp, they were like that. And shrimp is good depending on how you cook it. So are crawdads. And so I can just imagine this woolly hippo digging crawdads out of the bottom of the rivers and the streams and the ponds and the lakes. Maybe the swamps. Maybe grabbing a frog from time to time. A lot of plants, though. You'd eat a lot of plants. Add some more detail to these toenails. These toenails are dirty and jagged. So when I draw them, and these feet are tough. So they're going to look tough. They're going to look rugged. They're going to look like they've really worked at things. And those toenails are going to have little cracks in them and dirty, and they're not going to be pure and white. Yeah, the toes are hardly there. But they're big and fat. they all got a little bit of movement so they can just grip the dirt and the mud at the bottom of the river. You see, I kind of tell my story about him when I'm drawing him, so I remember what he's doing, because I made him up. Now, I'm putting little circles on top of it. If you look at your knuckles on your hand, if you bend them and stuff, sometimes you see the little lines there. Yeah, and you'll see him. Yeah, that's also I'm drawing those little lines around his knuckles there. Yeah, okay. Yep, little dirt on the fingernails. Toenails, depending on what you want to call it, I guess. Yeah, just little soft, delicate lines. My lines get darker as I get more confident. Laying my pencil on the side again to get some shading there. That really helps to get some shading, to contour, because the shadows roll. The shadows roll with the shape of your of the object you're drawing, whether it's a ball that has shadow or whether it's a creature like this or anything. The shadows shift and roll with the shape of things. So I'll put a little dark crease there. That's where his leg bends back towards his foot. Now I'll do a little shading. Now this isn't getting my harder lead. I'm going to shade this whole leg. I'm just going really delicately. Let the weight of the pencil. Now I'm going at it another direction, so I don't see those lines in there, and go over it another direction. So you can go over it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, even all from different directions. Now I can add some shading up around that back of that jaw. Yeah. Oops, bumped my camera. There you go. Adding some texture. Kind of make that jaw stand out, and then it comes. Yeah, I put a little knobby on the bottom, a little hair growing out the bottom of his cheek there. I'm putting the illusion of hair in there. See, now I'm breaking up. I'm using my softer lead now, and I'm not doing solid shading. Sometimes I pull out the pointy end and I put the contour of hair in, and then I use the side to give shading, and that shading then gives me ideas on how to make the actual hair lines. See, it's going to be darker down here because it's the underside of his arm, so I'm using the darker, and I'm not too worried about being exact here because this is a hairy creature. So when you're looking at a hairy creature, the dark spots and the light spots and the shade, they're different. Where the hair is, you'll see. So I'm drawing a little fake hair, and it's going to take me a while to get that hair the way I like it. That's why I go back up to the ear, because I want to add some darkness, put that in there, because I got to go darker inside the ear. See, that ear is not perfectly round, taking shape. Yeah. Again, that's what makes it feel real. It's not perfectly round. Yeah. The dog's barking. Here's an alarm on the door. Somebody's walking by. See, I'm not trying to be real exact with this. I'm letting the contour of the creature come out with the flow of my pencil, imagining how the shape of the creature is, adding hair. Now you can see I'm coming in, adding tufts of hair into the shading. Not doing it solid, not trying to do every one, because then it would be overwhelming. I want to really make that shoulder stand out. Now I'm going to add some more darker. I'm not trying to be exact here, because this is going to break up the solidness of that. So you're looking at a big hairy bear or something like that. This is kind of what I'm thinking of. And then I can use those contours I created to let my mind see where the hair grows differently. So you kind of got that hairy arm look there. I'm going to do the same thing with the back leg. So you could stop right here. It looks kind of cartoony on that back leg. But I take it to the next steps. I'll go up to the jaw again. You see, I don't stay in one spot and try to finish it. I try to bring the whole creature alive, slowly spreading out the detail. It just makes my mind relax more. I start drawing and I step away, because sometimes when you step away and go to a different part of your drawing, then you come back and look, what you want to do then pops out at you. You say, oh yeah, I need to put some hair off that ear over there. Or I need to, there you go, put the irises around that eyeball, the color around that eyeball there. You see, just add a little more darkness here. You're when you quit drawing in a spot and go move somewhere else, it allows your brain to then come back fresh and just see things. And so now I'm going to add a dark spot. If you look at the finished picture, eventually I'm going to have a dark ridge down their back, down that woolly, and you'll see when you look at animals, furry animals like deer or bear, or things like that they have different parts of their body where their hair is maybe different color or darker, and even like a boar, a wild boar, they will have hair that's darker and bristles along their back. That's what I'm kind of doing with this guy. Later on, I'm adding a little detail to that nose ridge there, putting a little sore on there, maybe a little wart. Yeah, just add these little imperfections here and there. This is a wild creature that's been living in the wood, living in the waters and rivers, floating on the bottom. Maybe he was down there taking a nap at the bottom of the water. Probably hold his breath for 20 minutes, and a big old deer, maybe with a hoofs, or a horse, comes swimming by trying to get across the river and stomped on his head there and made a scar over his eyeball. Now I'm starting to put a little hair on the forehead, the head there. I don't want to put too much hair on the face of him, but some. Again, make some of these cracks in the skin. He's old. He's lived that life under the water, and then he gets out in the sun and it cracks his skin, but he doesn't care. He's just happy to have a bottom of the lake to eat off of, and the rivers and the streams whenever he wants. He's not a real mean animal, but if you get in his way, he could probably bite down on you pretty hard with those tusks off the bottom. And these tusks off top are because I was thinking, he's going to spend a lot of time on the bottom. What if another animal comes and tries to attack him from the top while he's underwater? Well, he can use those two horns on the top of his nose to jam him up into the animal above him. So it gives him a way to protect himself while he's under the water. Those big tusks coming out and pointing down, those are great for digging or prying up big rocks under the bottom of the river or something, so we can maybe get them crawdads or worms off the bottom out of the mud. Just keep adding a little more detail. Again, I'm going back to places I've already been, looking at it again, and kind of bringing this thing together, slowly progressing. A little more soft lines to create contour and shape around the nose. It's really a funny looking face because he's got his jaw bones are different than most animals, because that jawbone has to come out and split so we can grow those tusks off the top. That's a connect the bone, and those big tusks that point down, they grow out of the contour of the bone structure underneath. And so it's kind of a Y shape, and so where that noses are and stuff, there's no bone there. That's heavy muscle flesh. Now he's got bones on the bottom for those bottom teeth, but there's no top teeth really. It's just leathery gums that he chomps on. This is what he's got on top, and he grinds whatever he's got, chomps on it with pushing on that leathery nose, and it's leathery like that, tough, so he can jam it into the mud. You see, and still feel. You can feel with that upper lip. Feel for those creatures and stuff that move. The bottom has bone in it, but they're short, stubby teeth with wide roots. That way, the jaw is not too thick down there. Putting some darkness between the teeth, because they're not solid teeth that stick together so much. There's gaps between them, so nothing gets stuck between them and rots them out. They don't floss like we do, so we use dental floss to get the stuff out between our teeth. Well, they don't floss, so they have gaps there, so nothing gets stuck. See, I'm making the bottom of that lower lip a little bit darker and bringing up lines and stuff. That gives it contour. It gives it shape. Makes it give reality. Because again, this is a rough creature. It's been bouncing its face into the dirt and mud and rocks at the bottom. So it's gonna have damage to it, upper and lower lip. I kind of like the way this. Now I'm putting some little imprecise. They're drawn fast. I kind of look like little cracks in the skin. Give it some texture. I put on that back jaw. Same coming off of this lower jaw. If you look at your lips in the mirror, you see all those little lines in your lips when you look in the mirror. Well, that's kind of the effect I'm looking for on the side. He doesn't really have lips. It's just this thick, leathery skin, hard leather, but like a real hippo would have, or a rhinoceros, or an elephant. And so, you get those little lines, and because this is a big, gnarly creature. They're going to be a little more rugged looking than your lips, but a lot of people's lips, lots of lines on them. Some people have really deep lines, and some people have less. So take a look at your lips in the mirror, and you'll see all those little lines in there. But they're not perfect. They're not all straight. See, and that's what I'm doing here. Add a little color, kind of go over it softly to the side of my pencil. Really light. When I do that, really light. I almost let the weight of the pencil be the only thing that's holding it. So I hold it at the back of the pencil loosely, so the weight of the lead, the weight of the front of the pencil will just settle on the paper, and you just kind of swing it back and forth delicately. Get a little practice when you shade like that. I'm going to be shading the entire body soon, and you can see it again, how I just kind of let the weight of the pencil do the work. But these pencils are a little heavier, these mechanical ones. If you're using a regular wooden pencil that you buy at the store for your school supplies, or Walmart, you can get them, or anywhere, they're not quite as heavy. They're lighter, so you might have to put a little pressure on it. And you can do everything I'm doing with one pencil that you buy from the store for your school supplies. You don't have to have anything fancy. I like these. I used to be a mechanical draftsman when I did some work doing that when I was out of high school. So I've liked these kind of pencils. I like the lead that's in them, a little thicker. So, and once you buy the pencil, then the lead is really cheap. So I think in the long run, you actually save money. See, I'm just letting the weight. I'm going back to that harder pencil, so I'm not putting too dark. And see, it's not perfect. You can kind of see the lines. I just got to keep shading now. Don't try to force those lines out, but I go one way, try to get better without the lines, obviously. Then I come from another direction, and it helps break those lines up. See? Just let the weight of the pencil now come at it from a slightly different direction. And if I wanted to, I'm trying to video all this, but I could turn this book and go at it from a couple more directions as well, because you can still see a little bit of lines there, but they'll be okay. But if I was really, if I wasn't recording this, I'd probably have rotated that book and done a couple more directions for that shading there. Now it gives me a base to work from, and I did that. So again, like I said, I'm moving on to toes. Let my mind relax. See, I added little tufts of hair coming off the knuckle of those toes. No heavy lines, just a lot of little careful lines. I'm slowly building out the color, the darkness. But like I said, I finished this whole drawing and never use any eraser once. Does that mean I didn't make a mistake? Well, yes and no. Did I put some lines in here that I thought, I wish I wouldn't have put that line in, or it's not exactly what I wanted? Of course, but because I slowly added the color and slowly made things darker rather than doing it all at once, you don't see them. And I take those little mistakes, like Ross used to say. He's a famous painter. He used to say, no mistakes, just happy accidents, or something like that. Oops, get my hat in the way. Let me get that out of there. So this kind of art allows you to take little errors, little places where you got and just incorporate it into your drawing. I gotta keep my pencil sharp. That's why I pull it off sometimes, go sharpen it. Like I said, I'm what you're seeing here is me drawing at 2 times the speed. I draw a little slower than this, but still, this whole video here is like 56 minutes. And so actual drawing time from blank page to the finished drawing, you see up in the top left-hand corner, is really about a 2-hour project. I think after this, turn my pencil sideways, get some shading in there. After this, I'm going to put an environment around him. I'm going to put some ground and some plants, and so you can see where he might live. So it's probably be three three videos. First video, part one, where I showed you how I created the ideas for him, which is how I was able to draw him so fast when I came over here, because I'd already done a lot of prep work and knew what I was doing and how I was going to do it when I started. This drawing is part two, where I actually draw my woolly rhino. And in part three will be me adding in the background and the foreground, and adding in water and some plants and the river bank or the bank of the pond where he's getting ready to walk off into the water. Adding some contour to the body by running the hair in contour to the body. Like look at your dog or your cat and see how the hair kind of points or flows in the contour, the shape of the body. I want a little darker in there because that's shaded between the two legs. Just kind of adding some jaggedy lines, some sweeping, flowing lines, short ones that give the effect of a tuft of hair growing out, sticking out more than others. Which is an important part of drawing hairs. So now this, I'm taking my darker one, and so I'm putting some dark up there along his ridge of his back, so I can get some idea. I'm not trying to be too careful. Keep my lines not too long or not too dark. Now shade in here, and see these lines like I just did, those shadings I just put on his back, and I let that settle into my brain, and then I start to see the shape of hair. That's why I didn't go right back to it. I wanted that to settle in my brain. See, now I'm coming back up there. See, I'm using the tufts and the shadows I created as a launching off point to start creating the hair. See, now I see where I can add more color, more shape, more shadow. And then I'll turn my pencil sideways and add it. Now I'm putting definition to the back. Again, now coming down in here, kind of just bouncing where my mind sees something. All right, you see now I'm putting in little hash marks and delicately putting in the shapes of hair, tufts of hair. And you got to be careful. You don't want to go too dark on these in case you don't like it. And also you want the subtleness. A lot of subtle ones around. But if you do too much, it just gets, your drawing just gets sloppy. So you don't want to show every tuft of hair, but some. I'm going to finish up along the back here. And precision is not the point, it's the natural look. And so I'm going to do some sweeping little lines off of these that aren't dark, that are soft, because there's always stray hairs that come off, and they're delicate, sweeping, gentle lines that aren't too dark. They give that a fuzzy look. And now I'm down here on the foot, so I'm going to add some more texture in there, a little darker there in that crease of that foot is. Now again, the fuzzy, delicate lines coming off of it. Little hairs off the back of the foot, little hairs there. And I can do some more around here on this side. Really soft lines that just sweep out there. Just let the natural sweep of the pencil carry those. You're not after precision as much as you are a natural look. Some will be long, some will be short. Get a little darker along this back ridge. That's important for this creature, to give that kind of to draw your eye along his back. Just bump my camera again. Again, never working too much in one place. Sometimes you gotta let your imagination settle down and let your mind's eye focus in on other things for a little bit so you can come back to it. I keep getting my hat in the way. Next time I draw, I'll take my hat off so I don't get it in the way. Getting close to finishing this. Got to work on that tail soon. I'll put some shading under there. This is not going to be a real furry tail, kind of leathery tail, until you get to the tufts of hair off the back, the tip of it. And little fuzzy hairs growing off of it. Give it some texture, that rough texture, like it's been bit a few times by, I don't know, maybe just another woolly hippo trying to get his attention. Maybe when he was little, his mom would bite his tail to drag him out of the water when he was going too deep. Or he'd get stuck in the mud and she'd grab him by the tail and pull him out. Yeah, so the tails look a little rough and rugged on these creatures. Because I imagine that's what their moms did. Just chomp down on that tail and drag them around. Yeah, put some more darker highlights in. As you can see, that'll add depth to your drawing so it doesn't look too two-dimensional. Using the side of my pencil a lot. And the pointy end. I want to emphasize that the front edge of that back leg there, so it doesn't fade away into the body. Get a little darker under the front of the chest and arm. Still got to work on that back. I want it darker. Right now it just kind of looks but I gotta be careful. And some fuzz coming off the back of that. There you go. I think I'm gonna have to darken that up some too. Kind of picturing the light, the sun coming from the front upper left, like where that you're seeing that small picture of the finished woolly hippos, where the light source would be coming from. So yeah, I got to put some darkness, a little bit of dark shadowy on the back side of this. You just got to get experience just letting your pencil work. So you're not thinking about every line, you're just thinking about technique. Technique is the method, that what you use to create like the hair. So I'm focused on the technique, not each line. That's kind of how you make things look natural. Focus on the technique of the shapes you're creating and the method and how you do it, and so you don't overly focus on each line. Make that dark along that edge of that where the shadow would be. It's away from the light source. Under the jaw a little bit. I'm going to put some darker, put some more hair up here, and then fill in some of that space to give it that darker, deep, dark hair along that ridge of his back. Yeah. As I make it darker, that, see, when it was too light, when it was too light, it didn't, it just looked muddy and dirty and unfinished. But now, getting some darkness to it, now it looks like a deep, dark, heavy part of the fur. Add a little more shading over there to kind of bring the rest of the animal's color more in line. I'm not trying to put in solid shading here. I'm letting that darker pencil create more natural looks of the hair, because when you're looking at a hairy animal, it's not uniform. The hair is not uniform. The shadow's not uniform. It's broken up by tufts of hair having its own individual shadows. I kind of go back over the nose, see how I like it. The Woolly Hippo. I don't know. There may be, I don't know. Is there something actually called a Woolly Hippo? I mean, that's what I call this because I made it up. But what if there really was a Woolly Hippo, like dinosaur type thing? I just Googled it, and they've discovered the kind of the bones and the remnants of what they call the Woolly Hippo in the Great Lakes of the United States. Oh, well, there you go. So I don't know what theirs looks like, but this is my Woolly Hippo. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and look forward to having you on my next video. This is the Big Toad, and I am out.